So the CDC has released new guidelines for Thanksgiving, right?
Yeah, and it's going to make this year just look a lot different. We already knew that. We already saw that coming, but I was actually pretty shocked by these guidelines.
Okay, what are they saying?
And I want to see what you guys think.
This is for what you're supposed to do and not do for getting together and how to eat?
Exactly. So, I mean, just to put it in perspective and just to give you the facts, California's coronavirus cases are at the highest levels in months. Okay, just last month, we averaged about 750 cases per day. And just last week, now in November, we're averaging around 2,000 cases per day.
That's a lot.
So it's a lot.
3 times.
And the reality is that they're rising. The CDC has now released these new guidelines for Thanksgiving. It's really just making me rethink if we should go anywhere at all. So here are the guidelines. They say guests should bring their own food, their own drinks, and their own utensils if you're going to be going to somebody's home. They also say to avoid any places that are going to prepare food. I don't know if that rules out restaurants or whatever, but they're also saying if you're going to be hosting Thanksgiving, you need to sanitize the entire house. Okay, that's obvious. But they say to keep the windows open, all of the windows in the house open if you're going to be eating indoors. And then they say guests should sit 6 feet apart at the dinner table and continue to wear their masks unless they're eating.
Okay, so it sounds unfun. So I think staying in your own home, it sounds like a much better plan where you are in control of your environment. 6 feet apart at the table. How big is the table? I don't have a table like
my
that.
table's only 5 feet.
It's like one of those tables from the cartoons where one person sits on one end and the other on the other end, right?
Yeah, exactly. It must be nice if you have a house that big, but the majority of us are going to be crammed in our own homes, I think, just with our immediate family. Because there's just no point in trying to travel.
The one that says guests should bring their own food, drinks, and utensils. That's interesting because I have eaten at restaurants where I use their utensils, which are used by a lot of different people.
Yeah. And restaurants should be doing disposable utensils, and some of them are not.
Not doing that? Right.
Yeah.
Well, after reading that, my advice is to stay home, party pity of however many, right? A pity party of however many you got.
My girlfriend sent me this meme, and it says the CDC says the best way to have a socially distant first date is to stay home and never meet and just keep sending memes about being single to your friends. I was like, that's kind of how this report felt.
The CDC, exactly. Yeah. They've got their finger on the pulse.